Welcome back, if that's the case. We're just 5 days away from Halloween, but I want to recommend another adventure manga. Maybe later on, closer to Halloween, I'll recommend a horror one or a thriller. We'll see. This time, I want to talk about or recommend Hunting in Another World with My Elf Wife. This is the official English release name, so I'm gonna stick to it. It is a manga developed or owned by Jupiter Studio and drawn by the artist KAITOMA. You can buy the official release at 7seasentertainment.com slash hunting in another world with my elf wife manga. I'll leave the link in the description and probably show up in the screen. It is currently on volume 5 and apparently sitting on chapter 19. At least the translations are. Hunting in Another World. It's a pretty straightforward manga. The plot is very simple. It is basically a hunter named Shin Nakajima, which gets mangled by a bear in his home world, Earth, I guess, and Japan, while trying to save a little girl. He then awakens in another world, and while being there, he gets attacked right away by a pack of wolves. However, this time he's saved by an elf, which he couldn't identify at the time. And he wakes up beside her. Turns out he was saved by a big elf woman called Saran. And after thanking her and claiming she's beautiful and all, he gifts some salt to the villagers to thank them for saving him, or at least for accepting him. He didn't know at the time that that's an elven custom, at least in this manga, to gift the family something of value, when asking for the hand of their daughter, and also maybe son. I don't know. The author hasn't clarified that in marriage, but yeah, basically it's like paying a dote. I think they call it in Indian, right, or whatever. Well, and eventually, he marries Saran, the big half elf woman that saved him. This is all basically first chapter up to maybe half of the second chapter, but it's really early in the manga. It's like, and also it's in the name of the manga, right? As the title suggests, he has an elf wife. So that's kind of as far as the basic plot goes. Of course, there's more to it, but this is the bare bones of the plot. Shin Nakajima is a hunter who was taught hunting by his grandfather. He uses a Remington shotgun at first, if I'm not mistaken. I forgot the model, but yeah, he uses a shotgun at first with a scope, and he uses, I think, some slugs in the beginning. And his power is purchasing ammo and supplies through his backpack. His bag is connected to Earth, and so he can buy the supplies he needs through his bag. Kind of like the outside campfire cooking in another world, I think. It's kind of like that, but more simple. He doesn't have like the whole panel thing it's his bag, basically. That's pretty much his power. But obviously it's pretty effective. Metal flying at you with incredible speed and dissipating absurd amounts of kinetic energy can certainly do the job, right? In any world, I guess. And another thing is, he says one of my favorite, one of the funniest, at least, lines in recent manga that I've read. In a world of swords and magic, I'm just a dude with a gun. he thinks to himself. So it's pretty funny. Saran, as stated previously, she's a health. She's a half elf or an elf hybrid. She's taller. She's taller and stronger than the other elves, and she's also curvier. Obviously, she has big assets. Let's say. So not only she possesses a lot of physical strength, but she's also very precise with a bow, and she was the only hunter in their village, which is kind of weird because she was a hunter and they just let her marry Sheen so easily. But I digress. Also, her lifespan is way shorter than elves, as claimed by the elder of the tribe. She marries Shin eventually, like in the very first chapter. That's pretty much the beginning of their journey, and that's how the story starts. I won't get too much into it for now because the manga is still very recent. It's still pretty fresh. I think that there's a novel, but the novel's ongoing. But anyway, yeah, I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to give away information that could spoil the story at this point. And given how it's so short at this time, I think that just the very basic of the manga should be enough to get people going. But with that said, I highly recommend this one. It's one of my most visited reads. I think it holds a very high entertainment value, and there are many parts that it can kind of go along Ringar of and Magic, Ashes and Dust. I forgot the name, but yeah, Gringar and Goblin Slayer, like that kind of more realistic dark tone fantasy. It's not dark fantasy so far, as it goes with like Goblin Slayer and Berserk and other titles. However, it has a much more realistic high fantasy setting, as in the consequences matter much more, and you have like psychological breakdowns of the characters, and things that they have to decide when they take actions that will reflect forever upon their lives, and all these things like taking the life of another person and things like that. It's much heavier in that sense. So I definitely recommend this one. I think this one will most likely become an anime in the future. I have no doubt about this, that it will become. And yeah, that's it. I'll see you all in the next one. Probably the next time I want to talk about Tsumiki Yogami and the Strange Life, which is a romantic comedy. And also, I guess, a horror manga, because Halloween is one of my favorite times of the year. It's one of my favorite holidays, or festivities, I guess, would be more correct. Even though some recent events bummed me out a lot. Not the thing that I talked about on my other channel, MMKT Talks, but just something that happened in my life recently. But yeah, I'll see you all on the next one. I hope you all have a great week and a really nice Halloween, full of candies, festivities. Enjoy.